An ugly, poor and bullied teenager wakes up one day and finds himself in the body of another handsome boy. He notices that he's become tall, handsome and has handsome body. The story begins with a boy named Hyung Suk getting bullied at school. He acts like a dog, but still gets beaten up by fellow classmate. Back at home, he tells his mother he wants to transfer to another school, but her mother refuses, and he ends up scolding his mother. The next day on school during gym class, Hyung Suk continues to get bullied and slapped around by one of his classmates. Out of blue, his mother appears and stands up to the bully, but this only embarrasses him and he shouts back at his mom. Back at home, his mother tells him to transfer to another school in Seoul, but he has to live there alone because she can't leave her job. Hyung Suk moves into the slum near Seoul. His place is small, but he is happy to have a fresh start in the city. While roaming around the city, Hyung Suk bumps into a cute girl and is surprised when she actually apologizes to him. He acts like a different person, but ends up creeping the girl out. The girl's boyfriend shows up and doesn't like the way Hyung Suk was looking at his girl. The boy starts punching him up, and the crowd records of him getting beaten. It gets posted on the web, and Hyung Suk cries as he peruses the mean remarks about him. He weeps well into the night. Yet when he awakens, he is amazed to see his new body. He sees himself on the ground and attempts to awaken himself. He awakens back in his body and figures it was every one of the a fantasy. However, at that point, he sees the other body lying close to him. He winds up sorting out that each time he dozes, he switches between the bodies. Hyung Suk begins at his new school in the style configuration class, and every one of the young ladies are astounded by his attractive features. At the point when he sits down, he finds he is close to the person that beat him up, and his better half is additionally in his group. Fortunately, the person doesn't remember him and presents himself as Jin. Hyung Suk gets moved toward by a young lady named Hannah, and she plays with him. Jin gets down on her, however, sees that his better half is additionally keen on him. He gets started up. However, the instructor progresses forward with the class. Later at lunch, everybody gazes at him, and Hannah presents the various gatherings of understudies. She asks him for what valid reason he decided to join the style configuration class, and we figure out that with his unfortunate scholastics, design configuration was the main thing he could move to. Back in class, he gets languid in light of the fact that he went through all the earlier day trying out his new body. He winds up nodding off and awakening in his body. Back at home, he understands what occurred and attempts to fall back sleeping. He figures out how to switch back when Hannah awakens him. Toward the finish of class, Hyung Suk finds a new line of work at the odds and ends shop to pull all-nighters. However, we see he came in his other body to get some information about the gig. The proprietor is quick to employ him. However, he winds up expressing it's for his companion. The proprietor attempts to alter his perspective when he sees his other structure, yet Hyung Suk intrigues him with his insight into all the cigarette brands from his experience as a task kid. Hyung Suk begins working and a few people come in to purchase cigarettes. However, he remembers them from his group, so he asks them for ID and winds up turning them down. Jin goes along with them and understands his name is additionally Hyung Suk. He takes out his indignation on him and thumps him once more. They wind up taking a bare photograph of him so he doesn't go to the police. The following day at school, Jin and his young men snicker about whipping him the earlier evening. Hyung Suk reprimands them and Jin plans to battle him, however gets come by another understudy named Jae. Jin gets free and keeps on going after. Hyung Suk has been beaten such a huge amount in the past, he can peruse the punches, and since he has a body that can respond, he effectively evades. Everybody is stunned. Jin's punch miss. Jin keeps on swinging. Yet Hyung Suk beats him with a solitary punch to the stomach. The insight about this battle is spread to different classes, specifically the vocal class and the design class, who conclude they need to show Hyung Suk a thing or two. Around evening time, Hyung Suk sees a dubious person who winds up taking and making a run for it. Hyung Suk pursues him yet finds he was doing it for the harassers. The domineering jerks compel them to battle one another. However, they are saved. At the point when Bosco shows up, he has major areas of strength for an equity and faces the harassers. The following day, Hyung Suk gets some information about Bosco. We learn he is the head of the Consume Knuckle group in the design class. They are joined by the three chumps and Bosco sees them all hanging out together. Bosco approaches him and he says thanks to him for aiding him, however understands that was in his other body. Bosco deciphers his words as significance he is companions with the three domineering jerks. Bosco utilizes his shoulder knuckle snatch to show him a thing or two. Yet Hyung Suk figures out how to free himself. Everybody is stunned, and Hyung Suk says it was a misconception. Bosco's companion splits things up, and he uncovers that Bosco would have lost assuming things proceeded. The three saps are astonished at his solidarity and requested to be his companion. They go out for food together, and Hyung Suk is astonished to see Jin is additionally there. They wind up streamlining things for certain beverages, and part of the gang discusses the video he shot the earlier evening. Hyung Suk takes a major beverage, and before the person can show it off, he smashes the telephone. He winds up dropping from the liquor and awakens in his other body. He attempts to return to rest, yet has a bizarre dream about his old domineering jerk. He understands he can't switch bodies, so he hurries to track down himself. He figures out how to successfully return, and he makes sense of that he was told to get his companion, so he winds up conveying his other body home. The following day, Hyung Suk runs into Joe, the person who is likewise getting harassed. Joe is befuddled why Hyung Suk is being pleasant to him, yet they wind up eating together back at his home. His mom drops by and she sees him resting. Hyung Suk returns and makes sense of he is her child's flatmate, and that Hyung Suk works around evening time. He winds up taking her out for espresso, and Bosco is there and he tunes in. His mother feels okay with him and opens dependent upon him. She says thanks to him for being his child's companion. Yet Bosco thinks he is simply utilizing him and gets angered. As they leave, his mother readies a cardboard to sell for scrap and uncovers she needed to agree with a particular stance work so she could send him cash. She winds up giving him cash for the espresso, and Bosco is incensed seeing him take her cash. After she leaves, Bosco defies him. He thinks Hyung Suk is a liar and is involving his other self as a task kid. Hyung Suk is befuddled, yet Bosco assaults him. He figures out how to avoid his assaults in general, and Bosco requests the cash that his mom gave him. Seeing him as another domineering jerk attempting to take his cash, Hyung Suk retaliates. He twists and elbows Bosco in the face, taking him out. Later working, Bosco comes in and apologizes for being not able to get the cash for him. He lets him know he ought to prepare, and Hyung Suk takes a stab at doing some push-ups. Yet a lovely young lady out of nowhere comes in, and he is humiliated. She ends up being overall quite even, gets him a beverage for his exercise. We meet a person named Leon as he plans to flaunt his new shoes, a selective ring. Yet he gets eclipsed by Jay, who wears creator marks everywhere. Indeed, even Hannah is intrigued, yet he doesn't actually talk. The young ladies swarm around Hyung Suk to no one's surprise. However, Leon can tell from his shoes and sack that he is poor and has no design sense. They make an arrangement to uncover him, yet Jay hears. Afterward, Hyung Suk runs into a person named Duke as he gets harassed by folks from the vocal class. Hyung Suk goes to bat for him, however the educator prevents them from battling. He offers Duke a hand, yet he doesn't go for it and strolls away. Toward the day's end, Hyung Suk gets a call from his mom, and Jay hears that it's his birthday tomorrow. Jay winds up giving him a present for his birthday, and Hyung Suk finds the sack loaded up with garments. As Jay leaves, there is an entire pile of packs. The following day, Leon gets ready to humiliate Hyung Suk, yet is stunned when he comes in wearing all very good quality style. Hannah asks where he got the garments from, and Hyung Suk says it was his companion. Somewhere else, at a music studio, a tryout is being held. Both Duke and his domineering jerk Zinni are trying out. Zinni gets called up first, and he figures out how to intrigue the maker. The maker sees that Duke is the final straggler, and Duke moves sent away without having the opportunity to perform. In spite of this, he keeps encompassing verses and desires to make it one day, so he can deal with his grandmother. The following day, he takes a gander at a banner, and Hyung Suk comes dependent upon him. Hyung Suk attempts to be cordial, however Duke believes it's unusual. At lunch, Duke gets harassed by Vinny on the grounds that he applied to sing at the celebration. Vinny lets him know he would be ashamed to their group and slaps him around. Hyung Suk moves forward and he is joined by Jay. Jin moves forward and Bosco shows up also. Vinny and his young men leave, and every one of the young ladies think Hyung Suk is so cool. He keeps an eye on Duke, however he simply leaves. Hyung Suk tracks down the torn application and assembles it back. He attempts to give it back to Duke the following day, yet Duke is tired of his pleasant person act. He says that all that he goes through will simply improve his music, very much like his legend Eminem, who made it from nothing in class. Then he discusses his presentation for the celebration and is sure he will win. He sees Duke compassing his verses and gets irritated, figuring he ought to simply surrender. After school, he pounds Duke once more and tears up his notebook. In the meantime, Hyung Suk advances additional about the celebration from Hannah, and she recommends that he could perform. Hyung Suk is on cleaning obligation, and he contemplates what it might be want to perform. He winds up singing, and Duke hears him from outside. Duke shows up behind him and he is astounded. Duke requests that he be his accomplice to perform.